Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a just flash episode of the Marketing Wizards Inner Circle. I am very excited to be here with you today because I have a special guest. This woman is amazing, absolutely amazing. You are going to adore her the same way I do. She is a very gifted entrepreneur, and she's going to share with us some tips and some ideas and some concepts about how she's been able to really accelerate the traction that she's getting with her company, accelerate the type of reach that she's getting with her company, because she's got a really powerful message. And I will bet you also have a really powerful message. And so finding ways, discovering ways, and unpacking ways on how to increase the traction you get on that message, increase the eyeballs you get on that message, and the earballs that hear your message is really, really, really important. So I am going to bring her up in just a moment here. And when I do, I just want you to give her a big, warm Marketing Wizards Inner Circle welcome. And don't mind the phone. That just means business is happening. So we are going to invite her in. I'm very happy to have joining with me today the amazing Miss Caitlin Graves from Lighthouse Ladies. Caitlin, welcome to the Marketing Wizards Inner Circle. How are you?
I am wonderful, Michael. Thank you for having me with you here today because you are just as amazing as I am.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. I do try. I do try. So, Caitlin, we have got some incredible business owners here on this call. And these people they have amazing products, they've got amazing services, they've got an amazing message, the same as you. And they're also challenged to get that message out there and to broadcast that to the world and gain a lot of traction. So, walk us through a little bit what differences and changes have happened in the last 60 odd days or so for you when you've started to put to work some really powerful media for your company.
So I'm going to reframe that. I provided some powerful content that you took and
Mm,
made amazing, and then took the hassle part of posting to the multiple platforms out of my beautiful hands into your wonderful team hands so that it goes seamlessly. It's not another to do on my to do list, which as an entrepreneur we know is long. And it really allows me to focus in on what I do best, which is help women solve their problems with money specifically.
mm,
So that process has been amazing for me. And Lisa is my partner with Lighthouse Enterprises. What that has done for us is free up so much time, so much energy, but it also has allowed us to, I could show some social media stats to grow our platforms, to grow our
mm,
following, and be really freaking consistent with that message.
mm-hmm. Are you finding so when you were getting this started? Because Caitlin, your message to the world is a really powerful one. You know that, and I love the fact that you're focusing on this challenge that a lot of women face, which is like this monetary frustration, right? As they've got, and I'm going to paraphrase here, but they have these particular sort of models that they're practicing, or as you call them, archetypes that they're living as from a financial perspective. So it's very powerful. So you had this really, really amazing message and amazing product portfolio. But what was the frustration before? Because I know that you weren't getting the type of traction that you wanted.
The frustration is the time management, the content, the editing, and making really beautiful messaging with that content, right? So, what your team brings in, and what I love about the 30 and 30 is the editing is done.
Mm,
And then you allow us to review, to look it over, to say yes, no, we don't like this, we do like this, we want to see more of this. But you bring in a level of professionalism to our content that Lisa and I didn't possess. We didn't
okay.
have those skills, right? So that was huge when you were able to take our message, refine it, and really create it in a way that just connects deeper with people, because that's what you're
Mm,
fantastic at.
awesome. Okay. Well, thank you for that. Thank you. And so, what's the process been like for you? Because I know that the impact has been awesome from a reach perspective. Yeah, I mean, do you have any numbers? Like, have you seen the difference? I mean, what's your reach been like lately?
So I currently have my stuff set to professional mode, so I can go pull up analytics,
Yeah.
and I could do a screenshot and share it in the group. And Lisa could do the same. She and I have both noticed is the consistency, as you and I talked about, was really the key to creating more reach, but even more so reaching the particular audience we are looking to share and support and help.
Okay.
So that was the most valuable impact for me, is that I see we're getting responses, comments from the women we want to support. That to me is where the difference maker happened. And the process of that with the 30 and 30, with what your team brings to it, is that it was really freaking simple. It was
Mm,
really simple. And as an entrepreneur, simple means you're going to create results. When we
yeah.
muddy up the waters, right? You were talking about this earlier, then people aren't clear. And when you're clear, a confused mind doesn't act. So that was the same for Lisa and I. Where do we go? So we could spend hours on Canva, right? Or any other video edit where you're trying to make these gorgeous reels, but it's taking so much of our time away from where we need to focus.
Right. Right.
And that was the shift that happened. So the only part is you have to go make the content, right? So on as me as the entrepreneur, I needed to go record the videos.
Okay.
That's it. That's all I had
And
to go do.
so how has that been for you? Like, do you have you been doing it on a daily basis? Have you been doing these in one sort of batch? How many do you kind of fit in? And what's been the process like for you to put these things together? Because that's, I think, our audience would really want to know, what are some of the tips and tricks that Caitlin's learned over the last few months to putting said content together? Because you guys have now put out, I mean, 30, 40, 50 videos in a row consistently. So what's been the real trick for you?
So I do it in a batch. That's me as a person. So I like plan out a week, and I did basically 15 videos. One, like I just batch them together because I like my time to be used efficiently. As
Okay,
is
so you
yours.
take like an afternoon kind of thing, like 2 or 3 hours
Mhm.
and do it?
Yeah, just do it, knock it out.
Okay.
And then you're getting in the flow. So that's a tip I do have. If you're trying to space them out and like do one a day or two a day, or just not really do it together,
Hmm.
then you're not in that harmony, that flow. When you go put out 10 videos, by that 10th video, you're seeing yourself get more comfortable.
Right.
You're feeling more comfortable with your messaging. You're able to go back and really tweak anything to make sure that it sounds right from your first video. Like, oh, I should have done this, right?
Mm,
So it gives you a reflection space to step back and look at the first video compared to the 10th or the 15th or the
nice.
30th, and see where you could have improved and go actually improve. So just chunking out a day, that's how I like to do it. It gives me
Okay.
space to go into that zone, really creative, and just be recording my messaging. The other thing
And
that I
so,
thought was helpful
y-
was your scripts that you provided.
oh, nice. Okay. Very cool. Was there are you talking about the sort of what to do in the first 10 seconds, what to do in the next 15, 20 seconds, that type of script, that template there, that recipe?
Absolutely. That recipe was so beautiful because we get, I think, very in our head when we don't know what we're doing,
Sure.
and we overcomplicate, and we don't get the message out because we're thinking too much about what we should be doing instead of just doing what to do. That makes
Right.
sense. Just being the doing. So when you broke that out, and because of your experience, what you've done and how you're able to really engage, captivate audiences because of your charisma, but also because you know how to hold a story. You know how to create a story so people will listen. And
That
that's the
acting degree turns out it did come in handy, Caitlin. That acting degree did come in handy.
I think it really made a huge difference in your marketing business, my friend. I really do, because it broke down. You understand how to communicate. So this
Oh, thank you.
communication skill is what entrepreneurs in their social media need. We need
Well,
to know how
and
to communicate.
I think that's one of the cool things that you and I've done. And my buddy Glenn's popping on here. Hey, Glenn. Hope you're having a fantastic week, my friend. Um, yeah. So one of the things that I think is cool about what I've enjoyed working with you, Kaylin, is you've been really receptive. Like, this is something to remember, my friends. When you're hiring somebody or professionally bringing an expert in, there's a reason, right? There's a reason they're an expert, and there's a reason you're bringing them in. So let them help you, let them guide you. It was to use an old acting reference. It, I had once had a director, and I was I was locking horns with this guy. Like him and I were not on the same page, Caitlin. And finally he said, look, I'm paid to give you direction, right? There are things going on the stage right now that you can't see. So just because you want to do it this way, right? I'm paid to direct this. So there's a whole lot of moving parts going on. You need to do as I've asked so we can see what that looks like. And it's like he's being paid for his expert advice on how to guide this show from one point to the next, right? And it's not, it wasn't all about me. Surprise, shock, surprise. So the fact is that, you know, when you hire on an expert, I love what Caitlin just said, and this doesn't, whether it's a media company like mine, whether it's, you know, whether it's an expert to help you do something in your home, I don't care. Just listen. They've got years of wisdom and experience that you likely don't have. And even though the advice might make you uncomfortable, which I'll tell you right now, there are things that I asked Caitlin to do, right, for her videos, and there are frameworks and stuff like that that I told her to dive into that did not make her comfortable. There was a lot of uncomfortability in our first conversations, but like a fantastic client, she was like, okay, I trust the direction that we're going, even though I don't see where this is going to wind up.
And I want to add to that because really it was that I trusted you.
Mm,
Okay. So when that's the whole point of content to me is you're building trust with your audience. You're building a
absolutely.
relationship and connection with them that you couldn't necessarily have without social media.
Yeah, I love that, Caitlin. That's so important what you just said there, because that's so. Even my friend Glenn, who's on here watching with us right now, Glenn's built his business through social media, through networking, but his social media content right now, because he does artwork for real estate agents.
Hmm.
So they hire him to do a beautiful house portrait, right, as kind of a unique gift element when they buy or purchase a home. And a huge amount of his content is images of just him doing the work and then the final result. And but that's exactly what you just said. It's building trust. So now I don't have to trust whether or not Glenn's going to produce results. I've been watching it over and over again. Right? I don't have to trust whether or not Caitlin's financial advice and her guidance as a coach for me is going to be valuable because I've been watching her advice and listening to her expertise and building brick by brick that bridge of trust that we have to jump over from, you know, cold lead as it were to somebody who's like, okay, I'm ready to do business with you. I'm ready for your help.
And I think the point that you touched on to go back to is being uncomfortable.
Mm,
And when you hire an expert, whether it's a coach, a wealth coach like myself, a marketing person, a plumber, there's going to be a level of uncomfortability you're going to go through with the process because it's unknown to you. You haven't
sure.
necessarily done it before, or else truly, why are you hiring someone, right? If you know how to do it and you can do it yourself, then you're just going to do that. So when you brought in the uncomfortable part, if anybody out there is looking to really use this 30 on 30, the first part is being uncomfortable is totally normal. Own that. It's okay to be uncomfortable. Recording yourself can feel very awkward, and
Mm-hmm.
you will often find yourself critiquing everything or just not wanting to watch it at all. So you kind of have two sides there,
Up
right?
to the Dropbox. Don't look. Yeah.
Let Michael fix it. So in that awareness, though, as you go through the videos, that's why I do recommend kind of batching them together, is you get to see your growth in
Sure.
that segment, right? So you'll get more comfortable. So if you space it out, you're going to go back into that uncomfortable zone, instead of just growing into being comfortable recording yourself. Because that's really all he was
I think
asking of
that's,
us to do is
yeah, yeah.
record the videos, right? He's
Just
like, I
record
can
the
do
videos.
all of this, but you have to do this.
Yeah. My team can't be you. We can do all these other things, but we can't be you. You know, I think that's so powerful, though, Caitlin, what you just said there about, and this is the second time you've referenced it, when you batch these things together. So if you're doing content, my friends, and you're thinking about how you want to put these things together, what Caitlin just gave us was gold. Your content, if you're batching together, you know, 8, 10, 15 pieces of short form video at once, it's likely that your 15th one, your 10th one is going to be a heck of a lot better than your first one because you're getting more comfortable. You're getting into the rhythm. So 90 minutes later, you're better, right? You're just better. You're more energized. It's not as clunky, right? It's like athletes. They warm up for a reason. So when the game starts, they're ready.
Mhm.
So it's the same analogy. So you get more comfortable with it. So if you're going to be doing content, whether you're using services like our 30 and 30, or you're doing this yourself, batch these things together. I think that's one of your big recommendations, right, Caitlin? Like, don't show up and just do one a day. Although that might seem like it doesn't take too much time, it's a lot more mental effort than just to take an afternoon once a month and just poof, bang a bunch of these things out.
I'm going to say that's huge. It's actually my biggest tip, and it's something I started doing with my actual social media content that is not video as well, right? So you
Mm,
have so many different types of content. But I take one Sunday, I spend 4 hours, and I do my whole month. And I
right.
do that in a in an intent, in a purpose. So I go research everything I want to share. I go put out, okay, this is really resonating. And then any extra content I do is just like cherries on top,
Nice.
right? So I already have my 5 days, because that's how I'm doing mine, 5 days a week, Saturday,
Yeah.
Sunday, just whatever occurs, occurs. But when you do that, when you group like minded tasks together, this is something I learned from a mentor long, just really recently, but in the way I've known it my whole life. When you group these tasks together, you are actually getting into the flow and harmony of the task. Instead of Monday, Thursday, Tuesday, like I'm spacing it out, I'm not in flow. I'm not in
Yeah.
harmony. I'm not comfortable. And then I'm actually going to go into what I like to call a really low vibration, because I'm not going to want to do it. I'm frustrated. I just want
Yeah.
to get it over with.
Yeah.
And you're not putting out the energy into it that it needs to be good.
Love it. Absolutely love it. And that is very powerful advice for all sorts of us. And you know what's funny, Caitlin? You said these are things that you kind of knew already. I think so much of our own personal evolution, so much of our own business stuff, we already know these things. Like, this is not rocket science. Hey, do more content on social media that provides value. And guess what? You do it consistently and you build more trust and you're going to get more clients. Shock, surprise, right? Like, this is not rocket science. I mean, the nuance of editing your work, the nuance of cleaning up the sound, of adding captions, of putting in little attention grabbing sound effects and putting in b-roll that's contextually valuable and important. Those are all little pieces of the art that, as a we'll just call them layman entrepreneurs, like those of us who don't have those skills. And trust me, I don't really have the skills either. That's why I employ really talented people, right? I get the messaging part, but the editing, me video editing is not a fun time. So, but the fact is that it's getting into the basic structure of these are the things that are necessary to really build a successful brand, to get a message out there successfully, and to grow and do it at profit. Well, you do the consistent things, right? Simple is best. And then you find experts that are going to be able to do the parts that you find frustrating so that you don't have to do that and you can stay in your high vibration spot, as you were talking about.
I think we just hit that. So, anybody that wants to really play in this 30 and 30 world, the first thing that you need to realize is the results can't happen until you create the content. So, nothing's going to move until you submit your videos. Nothing's going to change till you take the action on doing it.
Yep.
And your team does provide some really valuable tools to get you into action, right? Here's your story arc. Here's some basic ideas, going through that client avatar, knowing who you're talking to, having a really beautiful picture in your head as you're recording yourself of the person you want to be telling the story to is a really great way to make it not feel so forced, so
Mm-hmm.
uncomfortable. So I'm just talking to myself. So there's a level there where you bring that in and it helps the focused intent, but you have to take the action, whether you hire anybody or not. So without the action, there's not going to be a result. So I think that would
Sure.
be the main part to impart is just if you're going to do this, then do it. Don't sit on it for 2 months and say, oh, I'll get those videos now. I'll get those videos now. Get out the videos, because this is something Michael told me was super valuable. I tend to strive for perfection and I tend to find a lot of flaws in things.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, just put it out. Just take the action. Just put it out. My team and I, we will make it to the best of our ability. the most professional and the most honoring you and your message. That was hugely important for me. But just put it out. Stop finding the flaws. Stop trying to redo it because I
Yep.
would want to, like, no,
Sure.
let's not cancel that one. I don't like that one, right? Because you start critiquing yourself. But if the
Yep.
action isn't taken and it doesn't happen, then you just spend a bunch of time practicing and never playing.
Yeah. To use another theater analogy to add on to that, Caitlin, because I think that's so powerful is to just do it, right? The old Nike saying. But I loved rehearsal because I was a bit of a perfectionist myself. And at some point, I had a different director look at me and go, "Look, Michael, it's time to present this. It's time. Like we go up in 3 days, right? It's at some point you have to put the show on the stage.
Mhm.
At some point, you got to put the show on the stage. Otherwise, it's just a hobby. And I don't think anybody watching this right now wants their business to be a hobby. Your client deserves your best, which means you got to be a pro. You go from hobbyist to professional. And a big part of that is obviously the scale at which your company is operating on. But underneath that is the value that you're delivering and the value of it over time. You don't, the pyramids were not built in a day. They were built by moving massive blocks of stone over hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of days. Many, 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 many years. And they built something that has stood the test of time. So if you want to build a business that's going to stand the test of time, the fact of the matter is that you need to put the building blocks in place. And you can't have an audience of 50,000 without having an audience of 500.
Mm.
Though there are stages. On average, right? Not sure what your viewership is right now, Caitlin, but my social media accounts right now are getting about 30 odd thousand, maybe 35,000 now for views this month, from the month of September. I didn't start that way in May. It was just a few thousand. And guess what? The more days I post, the more consistent I get, the more views I get. Not only because it's just more posts, but it's also just every post is getting more views because people are more inclined to interact with my stuff because I was there yesterday.
And I think this is where it's really important for people to come to grips. If you're going to hire someone, make sure they align with your values and your
Mm.
message.
Why is that
Because
important, Caitlin? Why is that so important to you?
you want me to
And
go
we'll wrap
there?
up here pretty quick here because we're going a little long on this little interview. But I think that that's something people forget all the time, and it is important. But why is it important to you? I'm curious.
Okay. So, in my experience with
Hmm.
hiring people to help with my business,
Sure.
I just learned that you're not in alignment with the person you're working with, the results are not going to happen. That's to put it really freaking simply. So
Okay.
if you don't share the same vision with your marketer, then nothing's going to really move or change. And you just spent money to just basically have somebody tell you their vision.
Oh, say that again. You just spent money to what?
Have somebody tell you their vision.
Of your company.
Right.
Oh,
Now, what
that feels
a
icky.
good marketer does, and this is what you've done for us, is you have seen our vision and then built it.
Hmm.
You take our vision and build it bigger. You expand the vision and you say, this, and this are great ideas to have this vision come into physical reality.
Got it.
So that's the difference to
I
me. And
think
some,
that's a. I think that's
yeah.
a lot more important than people realize.
Well, once you waste a couple, okay, and I shouldn't say waste, once you spend a couple thousand, hundred, that however many dollars you spend on people that aren't aligned, you will see how important it is. You will find very
Okay.
quickly
Yeah.
that you took time and energy to something that actually wasn't what you wanted, that actually wasn't getting you the
Yeah.
results you were looking for. And I would say it's the same thing with a coaching. If you align with somebody, they align with your vision. I heard this great. This was fantastic. So I'm going to quickly explain the difference between what I would say a coach, a therapist, a consultant, and this is a shout out
Okay.
to a wonderful fellow coach. He said, if you're getting into a car with a coach, a consultant, and a therapist is looking in the rearview mirror into the
Okay.
past, analyzing. Your consultant is going to tell you about how the car works, the nuts, the bolts, all of the pieces. The
Okay.
coach is sitting there in the seat beside you, and they're looking through the windshield. They're looking forward, going towards your destination with you.
Mm.
I'm going to
Okay.
say that's what a good marketer would do as well. Whatever field it is, they're going
Love
in
it.
the same direction you are, and they're helping you get there.
I love it. Perfect. Well, I think that's very, very powerful advice, you guys. I think that's very powerful advice. So, to summarize here, when it comes to your content, do it consistently. Do something great, do it awesome, and do it consistently on the daily basis so that you're building those bricks of trust over and over and over again. And batch your stuff. When you're getting into a creation mode, as Caitlin was just referencing, she feels so much better about her 10th or 11th video that she's shot than her first one. You've actually gone back and gone, okay, I'm going to actually reshoot the first one because I feel in better flow and this is making more sense to me. So batch your stuff together so you can get into the creative zone and get really focused. And then finally, if you're going to be working with experts, if you're going to be bringing people into your company to help you grow, make sure they're on board with your vision, not of your company, not their vision of your company, because that will make a bigger difference and resonate with you more powerfully. Am I right? Am I good at summarizing that?
Also, I would highly recommend going booking your discovery call with the fantastic Michael Bridgman and his team, because as an entrepreneur, the less things we have to do, the better. I'm just saying.
There
We
we
can
go.
focus on
You know what we
the
had. Thank you so much for that. We had somebody take us up on a compass call, as we like to call them, just last week, and she's now really excited and rock and rolling on her brand new kids clothing wholesale line of stuff. So yeah, we that she's very excited, and we're thrilled to be helping her bring that into fruition. So thank you very much. Our software here called EVMux that we use, it doesn't bring up their name unless they allow it to. It's like a permission thing. So if you do want to participate in the chat, please just give EVMux permission to show us your name as you post there, because I don't know who this is. Great advice from you both, but thank you so much for sharing your perspective. Maybe that's Glenn again. I don't know. So thanks so much, everybody. Lots of love from myself and Caitlin to you guys. And we will see you on Friday for the next episode of the Marketing Wizards Friday Morning Q&A. Ciao for now, everybody.
Bye.